Hey, thanks for joining us for another sermon conversation. Today, Pastor Rob's back in the hot seat with his sermon, Greater Love. So hopefully you've watched that, and now we're going to just hash it out and discuss it.
Absolutely.
There's some really great standout things that were said there, and I just want to begin with this one. One of the first things you said is, if we love one another, then the love of God is made complete in us. You know, as I hear that statement, if we love God, if we love one another, then the love of God is made complete in us. And right away I think, oh, that's pretty easy. The first idea, like, okay, yeah, I love my kids, I love my wife, I love my family, I love my friends. But then we start thinking about, what one another really means, and all the other people who maybe there's difficult people in our lives, or people where we try to act kind to, and they just won't have it. They're just angry. Why you do this for me? That kind of thing, right? And once you realize that this means that I have to love difficult people, we come face to face with the reality that, in loving those people, we're going to have to come meet our selfish nature and say, am I going to still choose to love those people even though I really don't want to? Right. I don't feel like it today.
Absolutely.
They're more of a hindrance, but still, we got to love those people. And so it's, I love that statement. It's so good.
Yeah. I like that thought too, that I've been wrestling through, especially as I was developing the sermon, was the idea of when God challenges us that how can we love Him, because we can't physically see Him. I mean, a few of us have maybe had the opportunity to hear His voice or, go to heaven, but most of us don't get that chance. How can we love Him if we can't love the people and the things that we see that He made in His image? Now that's a challenge, isn't it? Because people that I don't agree with, or our characters don't rub nicely, or they really hurt me or my family, like I don't like them, I'm angry at them. But beyond that emotion and that feeling is a deep-rooted image of God. God created everybody in His image. What we see physically is in His image. So we have to be able to separate the two. Yes, I have this emotion. Yes, I might even have a legal right to feel this way about you, but this person is created in the image of God, and I really want to see them in eternity. That's the nutshell in it, isn't it? It's like such a tension that we've kind of wrestled through and battled through that will probably never go away, because as we continue to get to know people, like, let's go out and get people saved, and we get to know them, we're like, oh my word, that's pretty harsh, as we kind of wrestle that. Or you treated me like garbage, you stepped on me, don't do that, right? And we still have to, kind of take a deep breath and be able to still love them. So what a hard challenge, just as you read that. If you don't love people, you cannot love God. Wow, that's intense, man.
I think about even too how when we talk about seeing who we really are, we see who we are in God's presence, but also the devil likes to show us who he wants us to see who we are, and almost give us a negative view of ourselves. So he keeps us low and just thinking, awful things about ourselves. But when I really first had an encounter with God, I remember, He lays us bare. And then at the same time, He shows us who He thinks we can become. Really, He shows us that future, like, this is who you really are in my eyes. That's that same sort of idea of seeing others in God's eyes, seeing them by the Spirit and not by the flesh. And that was another thing that really stuck out to me in this whole sermon, was that, when we come into the presence of God, we think in our heads, again, the joy, the peace, the love of God's presence. But again, it's also that He's laying us bare. He's showing us, what did your works really accomplish? Were you clothed in righteousness by them because they were done by my Spirit with my love and my intention, or were they done just to build yourself up, to build up your own kingdom, to make you look good? And and I think about when we enter into eternity one day, what's going to be playing in the background, what songs are going to be playing when we see Jesus. Are we going to be rejoicing, or are we just going to be completely laid bare because we have no righteous works in Christ? The things that we've done in Him just fallen short. And so
it's good. I like the idea too, as I've been just reading through some books. And it just as you study the scriptures, you listen to the Apostle Paul so often in the New Testament, he refers to himself as like, the closer I got to God, the more I realized what a wicked sinner I was. So in God's presence, yes, it's wonderful to be in His presence, but we also realize there's some stuff that we need to clean up so that we can have the ability to love others. And I often read so many times in books and authors, they would say, man, the more I know about God, the more I understand God, the more I really don't understand Him.
Mm-hmm.
And we read that many scriptures, and I even pulled one out, Ecclesiastes 3:11, where it says, like, we cannot fathom, like the words, it's again, you cannot love God if you don't love people, and you cannot fathom God because He's just so much superior than we are. Mm-hmm. So the authors were saying, as I get more and more information and knowledge about God, the more I understand Him less, but really the more I trust Him, that He's in complete control. He's got it all in the palm of His hands, and I can trust Him. I can love Him, even in all these difficult situations and with difficult people.
I think about the sovereignty of God and that whole idea and how it relates to the love of God. It's almost like once you enter into the love of God, you're now walking along His path for you. And although He might take us down a path that's hard, that really shakes a lot of the things in our life. He might bring us alongside people that almost destroy us, right? But it's all for a purpose. It's also that He can change those character things about us to bring us in alignment with His character, so that again we can love people around us the way He wants us to, so that we can take ground from the enemy and call out the truth in evil people and bring them into alignment with Christ, right? And it's such a powerful picture of how we need to start trusting in the sovereignty of God completely. If we really did get in the baptismal tank and die with Christ and are raised again with Him, then we're entering our eternal walk with God now. It's not tomorrow, one day I'm going to shed this fleshly costume, but I'm already walking in eternity. So why do I worry that God might bring me into situations that might crush me, like Paul says, or we were crushed to the point of death, and yet we still trusted God.
That's right.
Right? And it's like, that's where that whole idea of, God doesn't give us more than we can bear, that He thinks we can bear, not that we think we can bear, because we're like, no, we're out, we're done. God, we're going to die. But here He thinks it's okay. So we got to trust His sovereign plan no matter which way it takes us.
That's right. So good. So often, we just feel, or we're dealt a hand that seems so challenging, like, how can I trust God with this? It's pushing all of my buttons. I'm so stressed out. I'm so worried. What can I trust Him with that? It's a great thought there. Things that are going on around our church. You're still here, obviously. Melissa hasn't had a baby, so we're going to pray for that. And as we think about prayer, tomorrow, as always, every Thursday, noon, pray with us, fast with us. We've got a few others in our church that are pregnant. There's a few others that are obviously sick and not 100%. So we're just praying God will heal them up and deliver well, and everything will go smoothly. And look forward to seeing you guys again next time. Bless you guys. Love you. Take care.